In preparing for my away rotations, the resounding advice I heard was to be helpful and showcase your knowledge and skills, but that's not always enough to match. Here's what I would do differently if I could go back in time. Hi, my name is Avery, and I successfully matched into ophthalmology residency after taking 2 gap years and going unmatched my first year. Here to share all the lessons I've learned throughout the process with you. For some context, before my aways, I already had a year of clinical experience because of my gap year, and so I started with a really strong clinical foundation. Everyone told me that aways would be really easy for me because my clinical skills would help me stand out, and honestly, they were right. I was able to see a lot of patients, I was able to help out a lot more in clinic, and I was able to even identify things on exam that residents had previously missed. However, with all of that going for me, I still didn't match that cycle, and I think the big mistake I made was prioritizing clinical skills and knowledge over everything else, including the social game, which I think is just as important, if not more important. I'm an introvert, and being in a high stakes academic environment like away rotations, I defaulted to being extremely professional. I made sure to be extremely polite. I kept all conversations related to just ophthalmology or about the program, and I was 100% work focused. There's nothing inherently wrong with being introverted, but when you separate your personal from your professional life, it's hard for residents to really understand who you are as a person. I spoke to another matched applicant who matched the program after just doing a 1 week rotation there. Even though they weren't able to do much clinically because most of the rotation was just shadowing, they really invested that energy into improving their social game by being a little bit more extroverted and talking to each and every resident to form genuine connections with them. Thus, during the rank list meeting, the residents were able to enthusiastically vouch for the student because they had basically become friends and they really wanted that student to come to their program. Each program differs in how much of an impact residents have on the final rank list, but I think in general they have more of an impact than I initially thought. Try to view it from the program's perspective. As long as you're reliable, teachable, and you have a good work ethic, mostly anyone can be taught the clinical knowledge and skills by the time you graduate residency. What makes the difference then is your personality. How well you get along with the other residents, and if you'd possibly cause any interpersonal conflicts while you're there. That's when having residents who can genuinely vouch for you can make a huge difference. In general, don't view residents as intimidating superiors, but instead as potential friends. Get to know their interests outside of ophthalmology, and similarly, don't be afraid to share details about your own life to build those genuine connections that can last after your rotation ends. Get as much face time as you possibly can while you're there in person because they could be your biggest advocates when you're not in the room.